Welcome, friends, to Reality Test. What is reality testing, you may ask? Well, it's something we all do every day, maybe with our loved ones over dinner, with coworkers at the water cooler, etc., when we check our subjective or personal emotions, thoughts, and so forth against objective or sort of more agreed upon fact-based reality. Although, because Dr. Ray and I, Dr. Kay, are social constructionists, we don't actually believe there's one true objective reality, but rather our own personal versions of it constructed in the context of relationships. But you get the idea. So here in Reality Test, we're going to be testing the castmate realities and the producer antics of our favorite reality TV shows against what we know as licensed psychologists about the reality out here, off of our TVs. We hope you'll join us as we attempt to reality test. Listen, y'all, we have a lengthy version of our disclaimer in the show description text, also in our old episodes, but we do ethically need to at least include part of it at the start of each episode. So here's our briefest version of the disclaimer. If you've heard it before, you can skip ahead 30 seconds, or for the old episodes, 2 minutes. So although we're licensed psychologists, psychotherapists, supervisors in the context of our professional roles, we are not acting as therapists in the context of this pod, neither for you nor for the reality castmates we discuss. We will give our opinions as our whole human selves, albeit supported by our psychological knowledge, and we will talk about diagnoses rather than assigning them, as we cannot ethically assign diagnoses without formal psych assessment. But both the opinions and diagnoses we discuss might easily be erroneous, as we don't personally know the folks in reality TV shows. That's it. Thanks, y'all. Now check out our campy theme song.
Are you feeling stressed? Your head's all messed? Well, let's forget all the rest. Fuck it, we're blessed. Cause it's time to talk reality test. Come with us. Let's reality test.
Welcome to Reality Test. I'm Dr. Ray.
And I'm Dr. Kay. Feel free to check in and take a seat wherever you darn like. You're not sitting in the audience. We're not doing awards this week. Instead, we are doing a second part of our recap of Roni. This is, in this case, episode 2 of season 15. As we got into the premiere, Dr. Ray very eloquently brought up, we were going heavy and hard. And so there's just so much content that we need as context and background for the season, because it sounds like these fights are going to be repeated conversations, and they actually started 7 months earlier and we're still being repeated. So it's good we hit the context hard, but yeah.
Yes, we
We'll
are
slow down.
glad the context is here. And I added a few segments to this episode because we want to get into it.
Exactly. And then we'll do Love is Blind next week, so that we'll give it more of the attention it deserves and needs, and get 2 episodes as well. And yeah, right. I feel good about that. The other thing is, we will hopefully make this a little bit briefer an episode, so that altogether you're listening to 2 hours of Roni rather than an hour and a half and an hour and 15, hour and 15.
Which if you're on a road trip or, stuck in traffic, you're welcome for our extended takes. Enjoy.
You probably, if you haven't seen the episode, will now have a real good sense of it. So that's good. Of at least episode 1. And if you have, you'll know exactly what we're talking about. So
yes,
fabulous. We shall hop right on into the second recap, which is from week of October 7th. And Dr. Ray, take it away.
Yes. So we start, Erin cut her hair the same length and is buying the same wigs as her mom's out of solidarity. I actually thought this was kind of sweet. I felt closer to Erin than I have previously, just hearing more about her relationship with her mom. It made me I liked it because it felt genuine and close and sweet.
Totally. And we heard their backstory as her being a single mom, by the way. But they were so connected because she was alone with her mom for a bit. She's her mom's only child of her dad's children.
And her dad's kind of weird and sexualizing or whatever is my memory of him. So interesting dynamics there.
I love that she's close to their mom.
Yeah. Uba showed up for this and was fabulous and made it clear that she's a friend who shows up, which I think was pointed.
Totally.
But it was sweet. And they returned to the discussion about the fight, about Jenna not having a lot of money. And then she says, well, there were times when Jenna said the money wasn't flowing. So she was actually admitting that she was not joking. Again, Brynn had the latent content, as you so eloquently put it last episode. It was just maybe in Erin's mind, she was quote unquote joking.
Yeah, Totally. She clearly is annoyed. First, she showed us that she actually was annoyed with Jenna, and this time she showed us, well, I was right. She does have money problems sometimes. The fuck?
Shady. We find out that Abe made some decisions without her, and she was furious about it, and unable to lean on him because her trust was broken. I'm going to go more into, I put a segment here, but I actually want to go more into this later when we hear more specifically about what was happening, but we kind of get the preview. I thought this was going to be like a longer season arc until we learned what it was. And I'm glad that we learned now. And I understand why she's frustrated, but we'll get into that in a little bit.
Totally. And so her point was like, she's pissed at him because she needed him due to her mom stuff, but she couldn't lean on him. So you sort of abandoned her. Abandonment stuff, man. Humans, we don't like that. It's too much for us.
It hurts. And then Cy and Jenna. So Jenna talks about going to Parsons. I loved that. Cy wants her daughter to go to LaGuardia. Cy says she's enjoying getting to know Jenna and having a conversation. Talking about the fight, Cy talks about Brynn texting and saying inflammatory things that we in the audience didn't know about. This like carbon monoxide kind of insidious, weird text. And blows up off camera that they all forgave. And Jenna says they don't forgive it, actually, like that they don't approve of this behavior. It was something like carbon monoxide. She's like carbon monoxide because instead of scream fighting, she's odorless, silent, infiltrates your lungs and kills you in your sleep, which maybe Brynn was making a joke. It's not a great joke. I don't love it. I mean, here's the thing. When like Brynn makes jokes versus when Erin makes jokes, the big difference between the two of them is Brynn is actually quite funny. Like she could be a comedian. So I tend to like have a little more like grace when
leeway.
Because if you're actually there are some jokes that are not funny ever.
Right.
Brynn is very campy and funny in ways that I think that's not my experience of Erin. But not that we have to compare them, but they're both maybe
Erin does kind of like, she like brings up that she's funny. She's a storyteller. It's like, those are the things that are true about Brynn. And like, I think you try to be, but like, because you only joke when you're trying to air something you're frustrated by, everyone knows now that that's your humor and it's not funny. And it's also not a joke.
I think it's like mean girl humor. I think that's maybe what rubs me the wrong way about Erin. There's an element of like mean girliness to it.
She's kind of sort of gossiping and joking.
And it's like not, it's kind of mean, but
totally. I also agree, by the way, they do not give Brynn a pass. Brynn gets all sorts of shit. She catches all sorts of shit. She just caught shit that whole night, and Cy's like, no one holds her accountable. It's like, what did y'all just do the other night?
Like they're totally. They're acting like she's just this. She's like fun and flirty, so she gets away with anything. It's like, y'all do not treat her that way. She takes a lot of shit.
Jenna does that. I love when Jenna's like, well, she's great. She's very matter of fact when she challenges people's, kind of gossipy stuff. I love it.
I agree. Well, actually, this is what I know. I liked that in that conversation too. It was very kind of grounding of what maybe was actually happening. Jessel and Pavitt go with their kids to a martial arts gym. A very cute teacher, might I add. I was like, wow, okay. Maybe I should take martial arts. No, just kidding. But it's very attractive. In New York, Uba is also at the gym talking about being in love, having kids, and hating being on top and sex. So, funny. Uba's another person who I find really funny. She's another person who just makes me laugh.
Casual humor. All about timing, all about tone, very straight faced, very flat. I love it. It's fucking funny. Witty.
Yeah, so witty. And just, she was my favorite for a lot of last season. I'm a fan.
Same.
And then we see Raquel, Mel, and the kids. Mel is a forensic psychologist. She treats her dogs like children. And I loved when Raquel was like naming all the bills. It was cracking me up. I also treat my dog like a child, but I haven't given her acupuncture yet, but there's, never say never. And the kids are cute too, along with the dogs. But yeah, very cute scene. Ones. Yeah, Mel was very so attuned to that dog.
It was so funny because she was all unapologetic AF about it too. It was so funny. Mm-hmm. She was just like holding it. She's like, she just put on some weight. Like, it was so cute. It was so cute. Like holding her. She's anxious. Aww. That dog's always anxious. She's like, no. It's really something specific. It was so cute.
She had a trauma. I love it so. Yeah, exactly.
Oh. I absolutely loved it. I thought that was great to get let into their family that way. It's really fun.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
All right. Fabulous. So we also, by the way, hear at one point that Raquel's like, my kids love Mel, so much so that they're like, where's Mel? Like, and she's like, what about me? Like, it's kind of cute. I love Mel. I think Mel's fantastic. I'm like super big fan of Mel. I love Raquel too. And I just like love Mel as well. Fabulous. So this next piece, we see Erin go to Brynn's apartment, brand new apartment. Unfortunately, the elevator's not working, so she has to walk up the stairs. By the way, it reminded me that like Erin seems to do shit like this. Like, so we hear her actually like make a reference to the fact that she's like, well, maybe she purposely broke the elevator, so I'd have to walk up. Right? Like that's her joking in order to complain about the fact that she has a fucking stairwell to go up. Like, obviously, no one likes to walk up. Welcome to New York, girlfriend. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's plenty of walk-ups. You obviously had a walk-up at some point, or you've, had friends who had a walk-up. It happens all the time. And obviously this is just because the elevator broke. So the fact you needed to complain about it was such a way of like putting Brynn down right before you got there. It's like before we even get into the scene of seeing them together, she gets the one up by making fun of Brynn's apartment for having a walk-up. It's not a walk-up anyway, but I was like, wow, that is the thing we're talking about. She has to do it. She has to find something to joke, grieve about. Joke, it's not even grief, but it's like, it's like her giving a grievance of sorts. So, no go. I love that Brynn gave her tap water and sort of like, this bitch gets tap water. And then later told her that and they laughed about it. I enjoyed it.
It was cute.
It was bad, but it was great. Yeah, it was like both, I like that she told her about it. That's important.
Yeah.
Erin comes in. It's so uncomfortable. She's like, love your apartment. She's like, yeah. She's like, I thought I was going to get to meet the dog. Erin was like, yeah, maybe sometime. I mean, my bad. I meant Brynn. I was like, yeah, at some point. She's very clearly pissed. And she's like looking at her phone, ignoring Erin. She's like, I gave you some water there. You can have it. She's not looking at her. She's looking at, So she brings up that her hair looks cute. It's because you're going through shit. And Erin tells us to her face, like, it's her testimonial. It's not just a regular haircut, Brynn. Because her mom. She's doing it because of her mom.
Yeah.
So,
fair enough.
Right. It is fair. And I also kind of get why Brynn might not really be clocking there at the moment because they're not like in a really good place at the moment.
Yeah.
She says she doesn't remember what she even said to Brynn the other night. And Brynn was like, really? Would you like me to remind you? And takes her phone out. So I don't know if that means she's like one of those people who like writes notes about things, which isn't a bad idea, frankly. If you like are if you're forgetful and you don't want to like misquote somebody, maybe it is a good idea to take some notes. But it was interesting how she looked at her phone. Yeah. And then she put it down. Offers a reminder. Erin at one point goes, I'm apologizing. And Brynn appropriately said, it's not apologizing to say you're apologizing. It is to say I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. So I appreciated that. And Brynn is super condescending. I totally agree with that. Erin calls that out. I agree. She's like, I'm not condescending. I actually think she was because she felt hurt. She's trying to say, like, I'm holding you accountable. They bring up Sai. Erin was like, not related. Sai jumped in, didn't even know she was listening. She brings up that she actually brought up Brynn thing about the carbon monoxide. You see Brynn's face freeze. I think she didn't think anyone was going to bring that up on camera, that she brought up the carbon monoxide thing. And it was like, you see her whole face like clock what happened. You can see her going through these like moments where she's like, okay, Erin just brought that up on camera. She brought it up in a reference, which means she's brought it up before on camera. It means she said something testimonial wise. And she goes, that must mean other people are talking about it too. What do I do? And she's like having a moment where she's like, do I deny it? What is it? And so she freezes, and then her outcome, by the way, her eyes water. So she also was embarrassed. She got caught. It was like a teeny bit, but they just like kind of get red a little bit. And then she goes, yeah, like sort of owns it. The only thing you can do, frankly. So that was uncomfortable. I felt bad for her. She obviously didn't expect that. But it does speak to what Sai said about how she does things off camera and then doesn't get held accountable on those. Her eyes immediately water. She realizes that it was used against her on tape. She decides to own it. Because then you see Erin go, yeah, I remember that. You know, it's not just that she remembers it. What she's saying right there is, yeah, I'm going there. Yeah, I'm bringing this up on camera. That's what she's saying. Not, I remember that. It's, yeah, we're doing it. Dude, that was an attack. That was shots fucking fired. She's there to apologize, and she shot fired. Fired shots.
That's a good
And
point.
Right?
Because if you're
Brynn
trying to
copped it.
apologize, that's not part of an apology.
That ain't it. That ain't it. And Brynn is holding her accountable back for that too. She's like, that's not what this is. And she goes, this isn't Staten Island. She's like, I don't need to be yelled at the floor room. This isn't Staten Island. Don't say that. I'm a born and raised city person. Okay, city person. Yeah, thank you. I loved it so much.
Funny.
It was so good. That was a scene I would totally watch again. It was so funny. They put it in the preview too, and I didn't even care. I was like, I'm ready to see it. I'm so excited. It was so funny. Yeah, thank you. As if like it, you know, that was not a good thing, Erin. Funny. Erin says, can you just hear me out about the radio thing? It's been 8 months. At this point, we know. Brynn cries. And I think that's really authentic. She's still fucking hurt. It's kind of triggering, right? She's being told in an even deeper sense, you are dirt, right? Like you are less than human. If she thinks that she's being implied to be a call person, or call person is fair. If she thinks she's being accused of that, she's saying, like, you're now telling America I'm not lovable because of this. And this is where something I forgot to bring up last episode that's important comes into play that Brynn said to us in a testimonial for Erin to lie about this. And she goes, especially something so lewd and disgusting. And to me, that is a little frustrating. I love that, you know, this was actually an important conversation about sex work coming up. I think there were many way better ways to talk about it. For Brynn to diminish it like that, it's a job. Yeah, it's a job some women have to do, and they don't have a choice. It's not necessarily a well-paid job. There's like an image of it as like get a lot of money. Not always the case at all by any means. And also not always the case is it chosen. But it's also not always not a choice too. It's, you know, it's both. Right. But far less often is it chosen. So for it to be a lewd and disgusting implication when some people have to do it to survive felt really shitty. I just was like, these are women too. Right. Mm-hmm. And sex workers are 60 to 100 times more likely to die, be murdered. 60 to 100 times more likely than other women. I just feel so shitty to like then also diminish it as like lewd and disgusting. Anyway, I wanted her to be able to be like, fuck it, I might be a call girl, who knows? You know, or just not necessarily that so much as being like, it's rude of them to accuse someone of that when they don't know that. And it's rude that then like the implication is that that's a bad thing. You know, that's what she also could have said. So, bummer. But I will say the reason it's important that she did say that is because she really does feel that way. She feels very disgusted by it and feels like she's being told she's less than human. And that therefore, you know, she's not worthy of love. That's what she's feeling right now. I don't feel worthy of love already. And you're telling America that I'm not worthy of love because you're telling them I'm a call girl. So frankly, I get it. She's feeling embarrassed. She starts crying. She's clearly still hurt by it. Brynn says she's genuinely sorry. I feel that too. Believe it. Brynn says she thought she was sorry, so it's all good. Basically, they get through this. They have a little bit of a moment. Then Erin's able to tell her about her mom and the chemo. Brynn says to us, they're like sisters. It's like we're fighting. But at the same time, it's killing her to see Erin like that. So she says, I feel like we've cleared the air. So this is something I wish people knew more about. Rupture and repair. It is not that weird. She says something like, it's so bizarre, right? What did she say? I had it written somewhere else too, but she says something like, it's so weird that like we're like that. Okay, yeah. I know where it is. It's like right here. I just felt like rupture and repair is a very common thing. It's not that weird that you might have this kind of thing going on. We all are. Oh, that's what it was. She goes, okay, I have it right here. Brynn says she and Erin are like sisters. They fight. I feel closer to her. She goes, this is the creepy thing. She said, this is the creepy thing about our relationship. It's so toxic. Not creepy at all. That's exactly how it goes. Rupture and then repairing from a rupture will make you closer than if you had not ruptured to begin with. That's everybody, girlfriend. Don't feel bad about it. It's not creepy. Mm-hmm. That's how it goes. We are all closer once we've ruptured and repaired. So I felt that was an important piece to bring in to folks and that I wish people knew more about because actually it's a good point. Yeah.
That was actually something we wish people knew more about too. Yeah, it was fun. It was really, I think, interesting because she was like, this is the thing about it being toxic. Creepy. But of course, and creepy. It's like, creepy of course toxic. You feel closer to someone after you've gone through a conflict together. It's actually like a healthy thing for your relationship. So same page about that. I didn't like her like self shame about that because I actually thought it was like a lovely kind of repair. And we have seen them have a few of those. So it is kind of this pattern with them, but hopefully eventually they'll keep going and learning and maybe like learning how to read each other better. And
to have some empathy for each other's shit, you know. I think Erin doesn't have a whole lot of empathy for what Brynn's been through. I honestly don't feel she does. I think also she feels like Brynn doesn't have empathy with her mom, which I also get, because of course Brynn doesn't know what that's like. She didn't have that, she didn't have a mom to see go through cancer that she was tight with. So she can't empathize. There are two different walks of life. I also say absolutely totally agree with your point about it is actually something that we should, of course, you're going to feel closer. I like that this gives us the opportunity to talk about it. We get to see them have repair. And I would also say that's the important thing about conflict is that it's a chance to give people your boundaries. You're saying, this is a boundary. I'm not okay with it. This upset me, therefore, and that is, therefore, like you said, giving Erin a chance to learn more about Brynn because she knows what she can't put up with and what hurts her more. So I agree. Hopefully they're going to keep learning about each other. It's a nice thing for us, especially if we could just like not get to the point of saying things like, what are you, dumb? Or saying you're a narcissist, like sided, or, if we can have those conflicts without it being a whole fucking actually hurtful thing, mean, unnecessarily mean, we say something about the behavior, not the person, then it's much easier too.
Absolutely. Not like attacking a person's character, as is happening to Brynn all the time this season. By the way, no one's saying Brynn is perfect. No human is perfect, nor is Brynn. And there are a lot of imperfect people on this show. And that's makes for a really good show.
In the world.
Yes,
we're all imperfect. Exactly.
Yes,
exactly.
On this podcast, I am very imperfect, but it's
far from perfect, both of us.
Yeah, it's a tough hang to watch.
It's like, and if we all acknowledge we're all imperfect, you are going to have more. You're going to be given more grace too. Like you're giving her more grace because she's imperfect. You're also be given more grace. It's better just to see all of us as imperfect and growing and learning, and see it as a behavior issue, not a person issue.
Absolutely. Love it. Love, love, love.
Yeah.
So then Beckett brings Jenna, her assistant, and Heather, her friend, to go rock climbing. Jenna has a fear of heights, and I felt like it was really hard for her. She talks about colleges. He wants to go to Northeastern. I think she really wanted him to go to Northwestern, which feels kind of like a class thing a little bit, or like an elitism thing. So maybe that's
tell us more about that, because I don't know as much about those schools.
So Northwestern is like almost an Ivy, I think. It's like right in that. It's a school in Chicago, and Northeastern is like a fine middle of the road school. So I picked up that maybe like she would prefer he go to Northwestern over Northeastern because of the kind of status associated with Northwestern versus Northeastern.
And she even said, I'm sorry, I assumed. She's like, I'm sorry, I thought that or whatever. And he was like, well, that one's fine too. I just mostly want to be in that like arena kind of. Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Oh, yeah. That'll be my little something, or that'll be my something we didn't think someone would notice moment. But yeah, some of her class stuff. It's also cool that she went to Parsons as a former, what's that show? Damn. Now I'm forgetting the name of the show that I really like. Project Runway. They always do their seasons in Parsons School of Design.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
It's fun. So I liked seeing that. He also wants to see Cal Poly. She would like him to maybe go to Cali. She's also scared he won't come home after college, which is what she did. And then Jenna got a new Bentley, $200K, and says, I can afford to fill the tank, which is a little like sass about the experiences she's been having and the rumors with some of the women. So, yes.
Loved it. She's sort of like, like gonna give side eye. I like the way she does things like that. It's cute. Like she really does it more in like a playful. It does feel like genuinely playful, like not offended.
Yeah. I don't find her relationally aggressive. I find her pretty straightforward. I think when she's been wronged or people have said things, she'll call them out. But she does stick to like the facts a bit more, which I think is helpful in any group.
Totally agree. She tries to be a little bit more reasonable about it and like understand. She also is one of those people where it seems like she understands sometimes you're wrong too. Like sometimes our memories play tricks on us. And I think that's a lot easier it makes everything easier for you too, not just for the other people around you. So I love it. She exemplifies that.
Absolutely.
Hop, jump on over to Erin and Abe. They're at dinner. It turned out that he sold their Bitcoin. So that's what the lie was about. She'd wanted to use it to pay off their mortgage, which is like, wow, how cool would that have been? But then also I understand being disappointed. She like hops on there assuming she's going to get to see it. And what fun to get to see how much it had grown, because it's been growing lately a lot in particular. So she was stoked to get on there and see the growth, and it was gone. She was pissed he didn't tell her. He turned out he'd sold it years ago and hadn't told her. rough, bro. So
I
I get
actually
it.
have a segment about this.
Fabulous. Give it to us.
Yes, I find this actually to be pretty insidious behavior. I would be very upset if a partner did this to me. That sort of lack of informed consent around
Yes.
money feels, I don't think reaches the level of like financial abuse, but
It's in the arena. It's like a
in the
prodromal.
arena. And it's like this sexist idea too of like men control the money. I hate it. It really kind of gave me a new take on Abe. So that's one kind of segment. I really didn't like that. I also think that's like something people should know more about is like the way that finances can be manipulated and controlled in ways that are really not cool. I can totally understand why she's mad about that. And I was thinking to myself, is this a marriage at ending offense? Like it kind of might be. Yeah. I mean, it might be for me.
It would be for you. I was going to say, yeah, for you.
Yeah, for me, I think it would be because for me personally, I would just find that such a betrayal for my partner not to share something so major. It would feel, I wouldn't feel good about that. So I understand why she's upset. I also felt for him as he was talking about kind of his desire to, his feeling like he's not enough for Erin or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think I would want to do some therapy with him about where that's coming from and also their dynamic. And because also, how do I say this? Looks wise, I would say that maybe to me, Erin is maybe the more attractive person in their dynamic. And so then maybe there's something there where he maybe always feels like he's chasing her and maybe she kind of likes that. And maybe that's just me or my thoughts on it. But I think they could benefit from couples counseling around this, processing the betrayal, processing his feeling of not being enough, processing their communication when she calls him like dumb and stuff like that. And like, yeah. So there's a lot there. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, really, really important stuff because first of all, like totally agree with the financial stuff. It's very scary, like building block on which to build other types of lack of trust and financial decision making. It does like a little bit bring up like how their relationship began because I get the sense that he was much older and she was sort of like he like was her protection I think at first and like I think it was his money potentially even too at first and so like maybe there's a piece there. I think her dad has a lot of money though too, but yeah, so I get the sense there was something involved with that, but that does not make it okay at all. Right. And sort of like what happens then I think is like now she has some of her own money and it's like not her, he's not letting it sort of like change and again, even if it was his money, still not okay. We're still not going to be making decisions that we put together to get that Bitcoin, whether it's your money or not. You guys made that decision together. You make the decision together about selling it. Either way, even if it's your money and you make that decision and you get to make that decision, you still tell her. It's still a choice you're making that she's a part of this marriage. She gets to know what's happening with the money in the marriage and with the kids.
Oh, hated it.
Wild, really bad. Yeah, bad. And then to your second point, I want to say too, like, yeah, absolutely. Like, men have much more upward social mobility in terms of looks. Like they can be with a woman who's much more attractive, much more easily than a woman can be with a man who's much more attractive. I mean, honestly, examples in the opposite direction do not even really exist publicly. Like there's just like almost never does that happen. So it's just very interesting where it's like, well, of course she has other reasons to love him. Maybe it's not his looks, it's his money or it's his smarts or it's his competence. Whereas like women are really only valuable if they're also attractive. So like, of course they could be with a woman because she's attractive, of course she has to be attractive essentially is the word, but another word, but is the way it is. So fucked up. A whole bunch of it has to do with misogyny, and it is obviously always does it. Definitely in this case, a huge amount of it is a misogyny piece where it's like she is more attractive, and then also for her sake, she might be with him, like you said, like what is it necessarily for her? Not just maybe potentially the money back in the beginning, but then also maybe it feels safe. Like she knows because she's hotter than he is, he's less likely to cheat on her. Maybe she thinks he won't leave her, whatever it might be. I would also say that in terms of their relationship at this point. So him saying like, I feel like I'm not enough for her. So that's never good, right? Like it's never good. You don't want to really be in a relationship, even if you're the one who you feel is like, sort of like like punching down, like you're with somebody who's not as good as you. That's not good. Like you don't want to be with somebody that you feel is not as good as you, and you don't want to be with someone who makes you feel like you're not as good for them. That's not okay. That's not a good dynamic. And I think some of that might be his own internalized misogyny, or it's not internalized because he's not a woman. It could be his own sort of like implicit bias about women that like, because she's making money, he feels emasculated. That could totally be a piece of it. But then we see how Erin treats him. And I'm like, it's not the whole thing. It's not just his own internalized shit. It's not his own implicit shit. It's also because she makes him feel like he's not enough, like quite literally, explicitly. So it's a both and. I also felt like the things he said in his testimonials were very gentle. I actually kind of liked how he talked about it. So it's a bummer. The whole situation's a fucking bummer. And I actually don't see their marriage as a good one, relationally or socially. So I feel like maybe you're right. Like either the couples counseling would result in them unpacking some of that shit and doing better as a couple, or it might end with a divorce. And either way, it's what's better, for the kids, for them. Whatever.
Yeah. Oh, tough hang. Well,
Wicked
it'll
tough
be
hang.
interesting to track that relationship over this season.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of relationships go down with this show here, with the Housewives franchise. She brings up that he fucked up and then he spiraled into learning about all the other things you've been hiding from me. I forgot she said that too. She goes, and then that spiraled into learning about all the other things you've been hiding from me. Ah! So, I mean, that says a lot, right? Like, it says a lot. He's been hiding a lot of stuff. It turns out, like he said to us, it's because he was trying to, like, fix it before she found out, which I kind of understand. Like, he didn't want to make her more upset, especially with her mom and so forth at this very moment. But it's not really the thing because it was years ago with the thing. So, blah, blah, blah. She says something that to me is also adding to the piece with Abe, which is she says, I'm a successful woman and I deserve to be treated as a partner. Not good, because whether you're successful, and what does she mean by successful, right? She means money and she means work, competence. Doesn't matter if you had money and you deserve to be treated as a partner, period, because you're a partner if you're married.
Absolutely.
And period. So she's actually lending to that same misogyny, right? The sort of idea that like, and then it lends to him thinking he's emasculated because now she's saying, I'm successful, therefore you should treat me like a man.
Mm-hmm.
Not good, dude.
As your partner, I should be, that would be fine. You don't need to qualify it with all this other shit.
No, as your partner, you should treat me equally. And I think, again, too, like if she's emphasizing it's because I'm successful, you should treat me this way. She's saying I'm the man in this relationship, to him, because she's also saying it that way too. And so they're both sort of on that plan. It's rough. It is so rough. And then she tells him early on, I've never had to sleep with anyone. I just get flown around on private jets. So talk about sugar baby. That is funny. And so that put a pressure on him. She said that to him when they first started dating. It put pressure on him to like keep up a certain lifestyle for her. And then it would be disconnected from sex. Like, don't feel like you get sex just because of that. Kind of love that. He brings up the fact that you can make mistakes, and we can keep working on it because you need to continue to prove yourself. That was rough. You need to continue to prove yourself. Erin, not the way. I understand that that's sort of the point, but like not the way to do it, not the way to say it. And she goes, you need to continue to prove yourself and then we'll be okay. So,
she just has to be in control of every situation. It's frustrating to watch.
So frustrating, so painful. And very just rude also on top of it.
Mm-hmm. So last part of this episode, Uba is with Sai at a clothing shop to shop for their next Hamptons trip. They talk about Brynn betraying Sai and therefore Uba about the Connecticut thing. After that was discussed, I like the relational nuance of when you shared this thing about this person that was hurtful, it was also Sai's secret and caused a rupture. Yeah. I like that some of the Housewives franchises aren't that nuanced. I do like how nuanced this one is in terms of how they talk about relational dynamics.
Totally agree.
Yeah. They both shared of fear of like lack of trust or confidence in Brynn and not feeling like maybe she's a good friend or something like that. And Uba and Sai decide they don't want to go in the helicopter. Sai's going to drive and Uba's going to chat, I think is what she said. We then cut to Brynn hosting Jessel and Rebecca on the helicopter. They talk about the night at the flower room, the floor room.
The floor room. Yeah.
The floor room. I want to drink and dance and party. I don't want to sit down and talk shit. Did Brynn say that? I can't remember.
Yeah, she did. She was basically saying, like, it's not just because, like, they attacked me. She basically downplayed it, frankly. She, like, gave them an out. She was like, I just don't want to talk shit about stuff. Like, I just want to get to partying. It's like, nah, sweet girl. Like, they also attacked you at your own party. Like, ugh.
Yeah. I think she wants to, like, seem, like, easy breezy and rise above it, which plays into her whole shtick that you talked about before. But then it's like... then it downplays her own experience and feelings, which are super valid. Yeah, Rebecca says, but you guys were close. And then I think Brynn says, yeah, but we're not on Rikers Island.
About the fighting. That's not funny.
And then they FaceTime.
I guess also, frankly, to look a little bit biased.
Yeah. And then they FaceTime Jenna to ask where she is. She's driving. She didn't realize she like missed maybe a social norm or a cue here about telling them she wasn't going to go on the helicopter. Jessel does a little photo shoot on the tarmac and then she trips and it's funny.
That was funny. Some of that clowning.
Yeah. So it's Rebecca Minkoff with Brynn and Jessel in the helicopter. And it seems like kind of a weird vibe, but it's when we find out she's a Scientologist. And Brynn asked her what they should say if asked. And Rebecca said,
media.
Yeah. And Rebecca said they prefer that they ask her.
Yeah, like talk to Rebecca. Because like the other thing too, by the way, I looked this up because I was like, what's the deal? Rebecca famously and her dad won an award from donating to the Scientology church over $5 million to the church.
Damn, that's a lot of money.
Deep in.
Yeah. That is a lot of fucking money. And I guess like a Daily Mail person texted her that they are going to run a story about her. And no comment kind of and no comment kind of doesn't work that much. Brynn
like warned Rebecca that Brynn.
Oh yeah,
she said because Rebecca said Daily Mail texted me right before we came in here. Actually, she's basically like, right, they're already asking me about it. It's already getting out. And Brynn was like, just so you know, she said that you guys could say no comment. Brynn was like, just so you know, like no comment doesn't actually work. As a publicist, I can tell you. By the way, publicist, here's the job, right? She said she's a publicist. Yeah.
And she's probably a damn good publicist. Like, I would want her to be my publicist. And then Brynn makes kind of a shady comment. She says, this isn't the time and place for this combo, but I feel like I'm being sold snake oil, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And then Jessel starts having trouble with the helicopter again. What was that again?
Like,
I'm forgetting.
She got pukey. She was like, I'm nauseous. I have to pee. And like Brynn, I felt kind of bad for Brynn because she like did the helicopter thing as like a way of sort of like reconnecting everybody, and then people opted out. I mean, of course I opted out. Like as soon as Uba gave her a way she could opt out, she did. And it's like Brynn's idea sort of like fell apart a little bit. And then like on top of that, everyone's complaining about it. And so that's why when they first start complaining about it, the two people that do come, when they first start complaining about it, she's like, oh, you're fine. Like you're fine. But then at the end, I like felt bad because again, now Jessel's like, oh, this is awful. I have to pee and I'm pukey. It's like Brynn's little idea kind of just didn't like fly, if you will. Didn't fly that well. Yeah, exactly. So that was the part with Jessel at the end of that. The other thing I just wanted to mention really, really quickly was back at the beginning of this part that you were sharing when Uba and Sai are out at the thing. I don't know if you caught this. I caught this when I rewatched it. This part. Sai says to Uba, you can tell I've been hanging out with Jenna too much because I'm only in button downs now. It's like, what the fuck? Like she like wanted to make sure. And we saw her one time having a meal with Jenna. Right. And it's like she purposely wore a button down to not only be able to tell Uba, but to tell the audience that she's spending lots of time with Jenna because now she's wearing a button down. It was wild. It was so, for me, set up. Yeah, it felt very set up. Like she was like prepared to do that. So that was a lot.
I wonder if, because her job is like as an Instagram influencer. So I wonder if like getting hate negatively impacted her job.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, the hate must be horrific regardless.
Yeah. That is a very calculated kind of weird move. Yeah. I agree. We only saw one conversation with Jenna, but Huh.
She's like getting, she's butting up to the fan favorites. And again, like I get it. I actually prefer that part of her than the like taking them on. I think last season she thought she would be the most famous one on the show because she was more famous than the others. And then Jenna was added kind of last minute. And it was so clear that Jenna was going to be like the big star. And so then when Jenna wasn't like super forthcoming, like super, like lovey-dovey, she wasn't trying to suck up to them. Jenna didn't give a fuck kind of in that way. And so that was really off-putting to Sai. And I think then she sort of like got like hackles up. And then she probably felt like, well, at least I'm better than Jessel. So then when Jessel wasn't like acting how she wanted Jessel to act, then she just like, you know, give her shit. But yeah, tough hang. But I think really, yeah, easy target, exactly. And also like feeling threatened by the fact that Jessel, you know, wasn't treating her like the queen she wanted to be treated like. So I think, yeah. I think altogether, I get where Sai's coming from. I feel for Sai. And I also think I'm glad she's, you know, working on it and that she's letting us be a part of her therapy journey so we can learn some things about therapy along the way. What a joy. What a joy. And maybe we will return to Roni at some point. Maybe not. We don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
We like it. I don't know. Well, let us, fans, let us know what you think of our coverage of Roni and let us know if you want to hear more of it.
Exactly. Also, I'm realizing that just now, as we were thinking about this, that I misspoke earlier as well, because it's not next week that we'll be doing Love is Blind. In 2 weeks, we'll do Love is Blind. Next week,
Indeed.
Dr. Ray, dear Dr. Ray, will be in a work event off and out of the state. And therefore, I will do some soul potting next week on Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Bring along your Salt Lake City feels. I do know it's like one of Rihanna's favorite franchise of the Housewives. So we're doing a Riri episode. Yes, I love it. So
Rihanna, let us know what you think. We know we know you're listening.
Yeah, I know you definitely sought us out with our so much fandom.
That would be it for me. Could die a happy person. I would be exactly like so pumped. Yeah,
no, totally. She's incredible. She's just like an absolutely incredible woman. Yeah. So, you know, we'll do some of that. We'll dip a toe into some good Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, so that then the following week when Dr. Ray returns, we will go head first into some amazing Love is Blind content. What a rich story is going on there. What rich stories, plural, are going on there.
Indeed. So excited. It has been an absolute pleasure. Check us out on social medias, download us, tell your friends, and we will see you next session.
Bye-bye.